It was supposed to be a fun night. My parents were out of town for the weekend, and I invited my best friends, Mia and Leo, to stay over at my house. We planned to watch some horror movies, order some pizzas, and have a blast. But things went wrong. It started when we heard a knock on the door. We were in the middle of watching The Conjuring, and we were already on edge. We paused the movie and looked at each other. "Who could that be?" Mia asked. "Maybe it's the pizza guy," Leo said. "But we didn't order yet," I said. We decided to check it out. We walked to the door and looked through the peephole. There was no one there. We opened the door and saw a package on the porch. It was wrapped in brown paper and tied with a string. There was no label or address on it. "Who left this?" Leo asked. "I don't know," I said. "Maybe it's a gift from someone," Mia said. We brought the package inside and placed it on the coffee table. We were curious about what was inside. We decided to open it. We cut the string and tore the paper. Inside, we found a wooden box. It was old and dusty, with strange symbols carved on it. It had a latch on the front, but no lock. "What is this?" Mia asked. "It looks like some kind of puzzle box," Leo said. "Maybe it's a game," I said. We decided to play with it. We tried to open the latch, but it was stuck. We pushed and pulled, but nothing happened. We were about to give up when we heard a click. The box opened by itself. Inside, we saw a small metal sphere. It had spikes all over it and a button on the top. "What is this?" Leo asked. "It looks like some kind of device," Mia said. "Maybe it's a toy," I said. We decided to press the button. We thought it would do something cool, like light up or make a sound. But it didn't. Instead, it exploded. The sphere burst into pieces, sending shrapnel flying in all directions. The spikes pierced our skin, making us bleed. The pain was unbearable. We screamed and fell to the floor. We didn't know what was happening, but we knew it was bad. We tried to get up, but we couldn't. We were paralyzed by the shock and the blood loss. We could only watch as the horror unfolded before our eyes. The box started to glow. The symbols on it lit up in red, forming a pattern. The pattern looked like a pentagram. The box started to move. It levitated off the table and hovered in the air. It spun around, faster and faster, until it became a blur. The box started to speak. It emitted a voice that was deep and raspy, like nails on a chalkboard. It spoke in a language that we didn't understand, but we felt its meaning in our bones. It was a curse. The box summoned something from beyond, something dark and evil, something that wanted to kill us. We saw a shadow emerge from the box. It was large and humanoid, with horns and wings. It had claws and teeth, and eyes that burned with hate. It was a demon. The demon looked at us and smiled wickedly. It licked its lips and salivated at the sight of our blood. It flew towards us, ready to feast on our flesh and souls. It was too late for us. We were doomed. I was home alone on a snowy night. reading a book by the fireplace. I had turned off the TV and the phone and unplugged the internet router. I wanted some peace and quiet, away from the noise and stress of the world. I was enjoying my book when I heard a knock on the door. I ignored it, thinking it was some kids playing a prank. But the knock persisted, louder and louder. I got annoyed and got up to see who it was. I looked through the peephole, but I couldn't see anyone. It was too dark outside, and the snow was falling heavily. I opened the door slightly and shouted, "Who's there?" There was no answer, only silence. I was about to close the door when I felt a cold hand grab my arm. I screamed and tried to pull away, but it was too late. A masked man pushed me inside and slammed the door behind him. He was wearing a black coat and gloves and a ski mask that covered his face. He had a gun in his other hand and pointed it at me. He said in a low voice, "Don't move. Don't scream or I'll shoot you." I was terrified and frozen in fear. I asked him, "Who are you? What do you want?" He said, "I'm your worst nightmare, and I want your life." He laughed and walked towards me. He said, "You see, I'm a killer, a professional one, and you're my target for tonight. Someone paid me a lot of money to get rid of you." I asked him, Who hired you? Why do they want me dead?" He said, "That's none of your business. All you need to know is that you're going to die soon, and it's not going to be quick or painless." He reached me and grabbed my neck. He squeezed it hard, making me gasp for air. He said, "You know what? I'm feeling generous today. I'll give you a chance to survive. If you can answer one question correctly, I'll let you go." I felt a glimmer of hope. I said, "What's the question?" He said, "The question is, what is the name of the book you were reading?" I looked at him in disbelief. He was mocking me. He said, "Come on, don't be shy. Tell me the name of the book." I tried to remember the title of the book, but my mind was blank. The fear had erased everything from my memory. He said, "Time's up. The answer is The Shining by Stephen King." He smiled and pulled the trigger. The last thing I heard was a loud bang. The last thing I felt was a sharp pain in my head. The last thing I saw was his face. And then everything went black. I never liked Halloween. It was the night when all the ghosts and ghouls came out to play. It was the night when people dressed up in scary costumes and knocked on your door, asking for candy or threatening to prank you. It was the night when you had to watch out for the tricks and treats. But this Halloween was different. This Halloween, I was home alone. My parents had gone to a party at their friend's house, and they left me in charge of the house. They said they would be back by midnight, and they told me not to open the door for anyone. They said it was for my own safety. I didn't mind being alone. I had plenty of things to do. I had some homework to finish, some movies to watch, some snacks to eat. I thought it would be a peaceful and quiet night. But I was wrong. It started when I heard a knock on the door. It was around 9 p.m., and I was watching a horror movie on Netflix. I paused the movie and looked at the door. "Who's there?" I asked. "Trick or treat," a voice said. It sounded like a kid, but I couldn't be sure. I remembered what my parents said, and I decided not to open the door. "Sorry, I don't have any candy," I said. "Come on, don't be a spoil sport," the voice said. "It's Halloween. You have to give us something." "I'm sorry, but I can't," I said. "Fine, then we'll give you something," the voice said. I heard a loud bang on the door, followed by laughter. It sounded like there were more than one person outside. They were throwing eggs at my door, making a mess. I got angry and scared. I grabbed my phone and called my parents, but they didn't answer. They must have been busy at the party. I decided to call the police instead. But before I could dial the number, I heard another knock on the door. This time, it was louder and more urgent. "Who's there?" I asked again. "Please, help me," a voice said. It sounded like a girl, and she was crying. She sounded terrified. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Please, let me in," she said. "There's someone chasing me. He's trying to kill me." I felt sorry for her. She sounded like she was in trouble. Maybe she was one of the trick, or treaters who got attacked by some psycho. Maybe she needed my help. But then I remembered what my parents said. They said not to open the door for anyone. They said it was for my own safety. I hesitated. "Please, hurry," she said. "He's coming closer. He has a knife." I looked at the door. There was no peephole or window to see who was outside. There was only a chain lock and a deadbolt to keep them out. I had to make a choice. Should I open the door and let her in? Or should I keep it closed and call the police? I chose to open the door. I thought it was the right thing to do. I thought it was the humane thing to do. But it wasn't. It was the stupid thing to do. As soon as I opened the door, I saw her face. She wasn't a girl. She was a monster. She had pale skin and black eyes. She had sharp teeth and bloody lips. She had long nails and dirty hair. She wasn't crying. She was smiling. She grabbed me by my neck and pulled me outside. She threw me on the ground and pinned me down. She raised her knife and stabbed me in the chest. She laughed as she did it. She wasn't alone. She had friends. They were all monsters too. They came out of the shadows and surrounded me. They looked at me with hunger and malice. They licked their lips and sharpened their claws. They weren't trick or treaters. They were killers. They were demons. They were here for me. They were here for my soul. They tore me apart and ate me alive. It was over for me. It was over for them too. They didn't know that my parents had set up a trap for them. They didn't know that my house was rigged with explosives. They didn't know that my parents were hunters of evil creatures. They didn't know that my parents were coming back soon. They didn't know that they had picked the wrong house to mess with. They didn't know that this Halloween would be their last Halloween too. I was home alone with my little sister, Lily, on a rainy night. Our parents had gone out for dinner and a movie, and they said they would be back by midnight. They told us to stay inside and not open the door for anyone. We were bored, and decided to play a game of hide and seek. Lily said she wanted to be the seeker, and I agreed. I told her to count to 100 in the living room, while I went to find a good hiding spot. I ran upstairs and looked around. I saw a closet in the guest room and thought it would be perfect. I opened the door and stepped inside. It was dark and dusty, but I didn't mind. I closed the door behind me and waited for Lily to find me. I heard her voice downstairs, counting slowly. 1. I smiled and tried to make myself comfortable. I hoped she wouldn't find me too soon. I wanted to scare her a little. 4, 5, 6. I heard her footsteps on the stairs. 7, 8, 9. I held my breath and listened. She was in the hallway now. 10, 11, 12. She opened the door of the guest room. I heard her walk inside. 13, 14, 15. She said, "I know you're in here, big brother. Come out, wherever you are." She sounded playful and innocent, but I knew she was trying to trick me. She wanted me to make a noise or move so she could find me. 16, 17, 18. She walked around the room, checking under the bed and behind the curtains. 19, 20, 20. She came closer to the closet. I heard her hand on the doorknob. 22, 23, 24. She opened the door slowly. I saw a sliver of light through the crack. 25, 26, 27. She peeked inside. I saw her face through the gap. 28, 29, 30. She smiled and said, "Gotcha." She reached for me, but before she could touch me, I jumped out of the closet and screamed, "Boo!" She screamed too and fell backwards. She hit her head on the edge of the dresser and collapsed on the floor. I was shocked and scared. I didn't mean to hurt her. It was just a game. I ran to her and checked her pulse. She was still alive, but unconscious. There was blood on her forehead. I panicked and grabbed my phone. I dialed 911 and told them what happened. They said they would send an ambulance right away. I hung up and tried to wake Lily up. I shook her gently and called her name. "Lily? Lily? Can you hear me? Please wake up." But she didn't respond. I cried and hugged her. I said, "I'm sorry, Lily. I'm so sorry." I heard sirens outside. They were here. I heard someone knock on the door. They said, "Open up. It's the paramedics." I got up and ran to the door. I opened it and saw two men in uniforms carrying a stretcher. They saw me and asked, "Are you the one who called?" I nodded and said, "Yes, please help my sister. She's upstairs in the guest room." They followed me upstairs and saw Lily on the floor. They checked her vitals and put her on the stretcher. They said she has a severe head injury. "We need to take her to the hospital right now." They carried her downstairs and put her in the ambulance. They said, "Do you want to come with us?" I nodded and said, "Yes, please." They let me in and closed the door. They drove away with sirens blaring. I looked at Lily's pale face and prayed for her to be okay. But she wasn't okay. She never woke up again. I was home alone on a stormy night, watching a horror movie on Netflix. I had locked the doors and windows and turned on the lights in every room. I thought I was safe and cozy until I heard a loud thud from upstairs. I paused the movie and grabbed a baseball bat from the closet. I tiptoed to the stairs, hoping it was just a branch falling on the roof. But as I reached the top of the stairs, I saw a shadowy figure standing in the hallway. He was wearing a black hoodie and a mask, holding a knife in his hand. He saw me and smiled wickedly. He said in a raspy voice, "Hello, sweetheart. I've been watching you for a long time. You're so beautiful and innocent. I want to make you mine." I felt a surge of fear and anger. I swung the bat at him, but he dodged it easily. He lunged at me, slashing his knife at my chest. I barely avoided it and ran back downstairs. I tried to call 911, but there was no signal. The storm had knocked out the power and the phone lines. I ran to the front door, but it was locked. I realized he had locked it from inside when he broke in. I looked for another way out, but all the windows were barred with metal rods. He had trapped me in my own house. I heard his footsteps coming down the stairs. He was laughing maniacally. He said, "You can't escape from me, darling. You're mine now, and I'm going to make you scream." I panicked and ran to the kitchen. I grabbed a knife from the drawer and hid behind the counter. I hoped he wouldn't find me, but he did. He kicked the counter and dragged me out by my hair. He pinned me to the floor and raised his knife above his head. He said, "This is it, baby. The moment we've been waiting for. Say goodbye to your life." I closed my eyes and waited for the end. But then, I heard a loud bang from outside. The door burst open and 2 police officers rushed in. They pointed their guns at him and shouted, "Drop the knife! You're under arrest!" He looked shocked and confused. He dropped the knife and raised his hands. The officers handcuffed him and dragged him away. One of them came to me and helped me up. He said, "Are you okay, miss? We got a tip from your neighbor that someone was breaking into your house. We came as fast as we could." I nodded, still in shock. I thanked him and hugged him. He said, "You're lucky we got here in time. He's a serial killer who's been stalking young women for months. He's killed at least 5 of them before you." I shuddered and felt sick. He said, "Don't worry, miss. He's going to jail for life. You're safe now." I sobbed and thanked him again. He said, "It's okay, miss. It's over now." But it wasn't over for me. It was only the beginning of my nightmare.